Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations on being accepted to UC Santa Cruz. My name is Jenny Moreno, and I'm a regional admissions representative here in the Office of Admissions. Yes, I love seeing all the love for y'all that have been accepted. Okay, cool. So with me today, I actually have some peers from our Office of Admissions, as well as our housing champion, Kathy. And just to give you a little gist of what we're going to be doing today, we will have a housing presentation. And then afterwards, we will have a live Q&A session where we'll try to answer as many housing related questions as possible. And once that's done, we'll have a next steps presentation going over important information and deadlines now that you have been accepted. So once we're done with that, we'll have another live Q&A session, basically answering general information related questions, as well as admission questions. And then we will include our session. So a couple of housekeeping items. You can submit your questions in the Q&A chat feature. We will have our admission staff members answering as many questions as possible throughout the session. Another thing, the webinar will be recorded, so know that as long as you registered for the event, you will be receiving that recording via email. So now, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Kathy, part of housing.
Thanks, Jenny. I'm going to share my screen here. And can you see my presentation okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kathy, and I'm the Interim Director for College Student Life over at Porter and Kresge Colleges, which are two of our residential colleges. And I also work with the students that live in the Redwood Grove apartments. Today, I'm going to share a little bit about the residential colleges and specifically transfer housing. Please feel free to message your questions, and I hope that I will answer a lot of those as we go through my presentation as well. So now that you've been accepted to attend UC Santa Cruz, what we hope is that you're going to accept the offer. We're really excited that you've been offered admissions, and hope that you will find that we are the campus that meets your interests, your needs, and can best support your academics as you make your final decisions. For those of you who have already accepted, we are very excited that you will be joining us. One of the things that is important for you to do is to remember deadlines, and the important deadline coming up first is the June 1st, complete the statement of intent to register, or sending us your acceptance of your admissions offer. A little bit about UC Santa Cruz. We have 10 residential colleges, and those 10 communities are like having smaller communities in a large research university. The nice thing about our colleges is that students can really find a sense of belonging and a sense of connection, and feel that they have a small landing pad in this larger institution. Kind of similar, as I like to equate it to Harry Potter and having a connection with a house. That you find a place that you connect with, and that becomes a home base for you. Those colleges include students with diverse backgrounds and academic goals. So our colleges are not, they're not based on a certain major or academic affiliation, but rather we have students of all academic programs living in our colleges. While you might find a theme connected with a certain major, students will find connections with someone who is in their major, regardless of what that might be. So each college is comprised of an academic and student life side. So on your academic side, we have a provost who is our academic leader, along with our senior director, which is the staff member that supports the student life side of your experience at UC Santa Cruz. Your academic advisors in your college are going to help support you and make sure that you're on track to graduate. So they're going to make sure that they are available to you to talk about your credits that you need to meet, the certain requirements that your classes might meet. They're an extra level of support in addition to your major advisor. So you'll actually have two people that are helping you make your way to graduation. On the residential or student life side, we have programs and activities. Those staff members provide opportunities for social engagement, academic engagement through lectures and workshops. We might have dances and speakers and music events, craft programs, lots of opportunity to decompress and connect and have some fun. And then we have our residential education side, which is our folks that work with folks living in residential spaces like our residence halls, our apartments, which I'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes. But when you come to UC Santa Cruz, you're going to find that there's a whole network of folks that are here to support you outside of the classroom and wanting you to be able to have the best experience you can while you're here. So when you connect and decide to submit your statement of intent to register, you're going to also identify your college preferences. And so in trying to decide, what college should I affiliate with, here's some suggestions that I have. Look at the different colleges' web pages. It'll tell you a little bit about the programs, the activities, the staff, the themes. Each theme is kind of the heart of the college, and some students might choose a theme that connects with their academic progress or academic major. Others might select a college that has a theme that's completely independent of their major and provides different opportunities. Some folks may also look at opportunities for scholarship and grants that might support some of your academic pursuits. So, do take some time, look through the web pages, look on Instagram accounts, and find some additional information that can help you make your decisions. The other piece is that when you connect with your college and are affiliated with the college, again, you're going to have your general advising at the college of your affiliation. So that team of folks are going to be the same individuals that you can connect with throughout your time here. It's really nice because they get to know you and you get to know them. And then your degree is conferred by the college. So as you graduate together, you're going to graduate as Oaks affiliates or Merrill affiliates, and so on and so forth. So a little bit about university housing. You will get information about university housing shortly after your June 1 deadline. Your application is going to be specifically to transfer housing and not your college of affiliation. So in transfer housing, we have students of all affiliations that will live together. Completing the application is how you reserve your housing, and once assigned, your application becomes your housing contract or your lease for housing. Couple things to keep in mind, before you submit your intent to register, think about whether you would like on campus or off campus. That is a really important question to be able to answer. Because that will have an impact on your ability to initiate your housing guarantee, which I'll talk a little bit in a minute about. But timeline-wise, in mid to late June, the campus housing office is going to send you information about how to apply for housing, and then you're going to get access to the database that lets you submit your application. So as you're deciding on whether you would like on or off campus housing, one of the things I'd like you to consider is the guarantee. So as incoming first year transfers, you will have a 1-year guarantee if you indicate a preference for university housing. And if you meet all the application deadlines and then maintain an active application. If you're someone who's not sure that you want to live on campus or off campus, I would suggest you go ahead and say that you do want on-campus housing just to initiate that guarantee in case you change your mind. If you know for sure that you're not interested in on-campus housing, go ahead and indicate that as well. We just want to be able to give you an opportunity, should you decide initially that you wanted on-campus housing, but then you change your mind, you at least are eligible for the housing guarantee. And the housing guarantee means that we guarantee you a bed space in university housing for this first year. So a little bit about where transfer housing is located. We have 4 different communities. Our transfer community at Porter is our largest transfer community. About 600 plus students will live at the transfer community at Porter. It's traditional residence hall style. There's singles, although limited in numbers, double rooms, triple rooms, and quad and quints, so 4 and 5 person rooms. We have themed halls, which means that a section of a floor is built around a specific theme. So, for example, we have the STEM community for folks who are in the sciences. We have a BIPOC theme community, an LGBTQIA theme community, single gender. All of these different communities are offered based on interests that our previous transfer students have shared with us, and we try to build communities around those interests each year. Again, most of the transfer students will live here with the transfer community at Porter being traditional residence hall. Students living here will have a meal plan, and there aren't public kitchens, so that's where the meal plan comes into place. Our transfer students might also live at the University Town Center or the UTC. This community is located downtown Santa Cruz on Pacific Avenue. It's near the Metro bus station, which makes it convenient to come to campus. These are studio rooms, double and triple occupancy with a private bath and a kitchenette in your room. And then there's a large TV lounge, computer study area, and laundry within the community. There's no meal plan required, so you can cook in your room on your small kitchenette, or you can cook more with a traditional stove and have refrigerator access in a larger common area. And you can see here a picture, an example of what a room might look like. We also have the Village, which is located on the east side of campus near our lower quarry and the farm and garden. These are modular buildings, as you can see in the picture. There are single and small bedroom, double bedrooms. So there are 14 people that live in a modular building. There's 3 bathrooms that are shared by the occupants of that building. Again, no meal plan is required, and there's a fantastic kitchen, common kitchen area where folks can cook. There's laundry, TV lounge, and common space. Another option is the Redwood Grove Apartments, and for our transfer students living in the Redwood Grove, we do ask that folks are 23 and older to preference this option. And then it is also home to our trans-inclusive housing community. So we have transfer students who are interested in trans-inclusive housing, as well as transfer students who are 23 and older living at the Redwood Grove. These are apartment style apartments, single and small double bedrooms. There may be 5 or 6 students living in an apartment, depending on the configuration. In that apartment, you share a kitchen, a living dining room space, and a bathroom. And again, no meal plan is required. For the communities in which I say no meal plan is required, you can choose to have an optional plan if you'd like. And when you apply for housing, there can be more directions on how to add a meal plan or add things like flexi dollars. And then for our folks with families, family student housing is an option as well. These are apartments that are 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. They have a kitchen, electric range, and refrigerator. Cable TV and Xfinity on campus, and internet is also included. Each apartment gets 1 reserved space, parking space. There's on-site childcare and early education, and then year-round housing. So their contracts are year-round. There are some eligibility requirements, so you'd want to look at the website to learn more about family student housing and what an application to that community might look like. That will not be in your housing packet. That is a separate application, as there's additional paperwork that's needed to be provided by students applying to family student housing. We have some additional campus-wide theme options. We have ABC themed housing, which is our African Black Caribbean themed housing. Those are apartments in Rachel Carson College. Our International Living Center, which focuses on international community of both domestic and international students. That's located at the College 9 and John R. Lewis apartments. And then, of course, as I mentioned, trans-inclusive housing at Redwood Grove. What to expect in our rooms. These rooms are furnished, right? So you won't need to bring your own furniture. Each bedroom will have an extra long mattress, a wardrobe, a closet, desk and chair, and a small dresser. The apartments will have full kitchens, refrigerator, stove, dining tables and chairs, couches and tables. Same with the UTC, your stove will be provided, a small refrigerator, table and chairs. So basically your rooms are furnished, and then you would just need to bring items that you need for living. And if you're in apartment style, that would include, plates and cups and dishes and things that you would need for your kitchen. And a lot of those things you can discuss as roommates to see who might want to bring what and how to share. If you do choose to live on campus, you will get information for us throughout the summer that prepares you for move-in. Some of that information tells you what to bring, what not to bring, what's helpful. And then in your housing contract, there's also information on specifically for the residence halls, what options are available for small appliances. One question that does come up often is, can I have a microwave and can I have a small refrigerator? And the answer is yes. In the residence halls, you can have those items as well. And you can rent through a company that our campus will promote information on, or you can purchase your own and have them yourself. When it comes time to room assignments, you will hear from our housing coordinator, Natasha, who will work on assigning your space based on the information you provide on your housing application. There is a questionnaire on your application that asks you to preference your room types and locations. So if the village is your first preference, you would be able to identify village as number 1, and there's certain room type. Maybe it's transfer community as number 2. And so on and so forth. So we will use that information to help us make your assignment. And then also there's a questionnaire that talks about living style. So do you like to go to bed early? Do you like to stay up late? Isn't cleanliness important to you? And that helps us with matching roommates based on living style. There's also the opportunity to form roommate groups. And if you'd like to form a roommate group, we would want you to let us know who you'd like to live with, and they also need to let us know that they'd like to live with you, so that way we can try and prioritize a match. We do encourage you to be flexible with your room preferences. So for example, you might prefer just a single room, but we encourage you to provide a second and third or fourth, option, because singles are limited, and we'd like to make sure we assign you to a space than have you on a wait list until a single becomes available. So giving more preferences and options helps us get you assigned to a space more quickly. Most of our students in the Porter transfer community will be assigned to triple rooms. So know that that is our most plentiful room that we have on campus, even for our first year students. So that is as most commonly what our students are assigned to. So with roommates, you can, as I said, you can form a roommate group through your housing portal. Your housing portal is where you're going to apply for housing, and you'll access information throughout your portal as the year continues. All students do need to agree to join the group, and we do our best to accommodate where possible. As I said about the Porter transfer community, meal plans are required. And for the other locations, they're not required, but you can choose to have a voluntary meal plan. This just tells you a little bit about what those plans are. We have 3 options: blue slug, gold slug, and banana slug. It tells you approximately how many meals per week. You can also add what's called flexi dollars, which is like cash on your ID. The nice thing about flexi dollars, not only can you use them on campus, but you can also use them at some off-campus vendors and Grubhub. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility with your meal plan. Your meal plans work at all dining halls, at cafes and perks, which are coffee carts, And then we have markets at Porter and Merrill colleges, which is just as it says, a little market where you can get dry goods, bagels, coffee, frozen foods, and different variety of options. One thing we ask you to keep in mind, if you change your mind about housing after you've applied, it's your responsibility to cancel your housing application if you're no longer interested. By having an active application, we assume that you are interested in housing. There's no fee to cancel from a wait list, but if you do cancel after we have assigned you to a space, there is a fee for canceling, and that is $150 as it's early on, and then as the summer progresses, it will increase to $350. So if you do decide to cancel, know that there'll be fees involved with that. For those folks who are thinking about off-campus living or aren't sure, decided on campus and I'm looking off campus, we have some resources for you. We have what's called our community rentals office, which is a fantastic university-sponsored resource for our off-campus seekers. There's an online renters workshop that helps explain the process to rent off campus and what might be things to keep in mind as you fill out applications with different rental places. There's rental listings, so sometimes community members will want to list their property with the university. This community rental site for students is only available to university students, staff, and faculty, so the public cannot access these rental listings. There's also the ability to submit a roommate profile in which you might be looking for folks to join your house, or you may be looking to join someone else's household. Talks a little bit about average rental costs, also provides legal resources. So communityrentals.ucsc.edu is the webpage. Strongly encourage you to check it out, and a lot of the resources are very valuable. Students have really appreciated that option. And then feel free to follow us on Instagram. You'll find all of the colleges have their Instagrams listed here, and that gives you an idea of some of the events and activities they have going on, and kind of see what a way of life at each of the communities are. And so with that, I share with you a beautiful picture of the campus looking over the Monterey Bay. I saw my first baby Bambi with spots yesterday, and today it was the wild turkeys with little babies. They were about the size of little chickens. So, it's a beautiful campus, lots of nature, if nature speaks to you, and hope that you will join us this fall.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kathy, for that informative presentation. I know that housing is one of the hottest topics for students, which I totally understand why it would be. So we're going to go ahead and begin our live Q&A session. I saw some really good questions in the chat. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, perfect. So a student asked, I have a registered emotional support cat for a mood disorder. How will this affect my placement into a dorm or transfer apartment?
Oh, that's fantastic. Great. So with emotional support animals or service animals, the first place that you start is with our Disability Resource Center, or our DRC, and that's making sure that you go through the paperwork with their office. And then they let us know that you've been recommended for an ESA. In this case, your cat can come live on campus with us, right? So at the community, we'll go through an agreement about living on campus with your animal. And when it comes time to placement, sometimes folks will have roommates in an apartment or shared space. And there's a question on the housing application that asks folks, are you comfortable living with an ESA? And we asked a question around cat and dog, and I think just general animals. And that helps us know when we match up roommates, how to find folks that are also comfortable with living with an ESA. So great question. Start with the Disability Resource Center, and then we'll work with it from the housing side.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kathy. All right, great. So next question is, when you get a chance, can you speak about the trans inclusionary housing options and what that may look like for students?
Sure. So we have two communities on campus. One is for first-year students at Merrill College, and then we have transfer community at Redwood Grove, which is for our continuing students and new transfer students. So on your housing application, you'll have an opportunity to answer a question about campus-wide themes. And one of those campus-wide themes is trans-inclusive housing, or what we refer to as TIH. And if you say prefer or strongly prefer to that question, you'll be taken to a supplemental application. And we ask you to fill out the supplemental application. That application helps us know a little bit more of your interest in the community, what you would like to bring to the community. And we review those applications and then make offers for folks to join us in the community, or if we have more interest than we have spaces, that folks are placed on a wait list. But we are those located in Redwood Grove, and there is not the 23 and older age requirement for trans-inclusive housing.
I love that you mentioned that, Kathy, because I did see that question come up later on in the chat. So great to hear. Cool. Okay, beautiful. So come June, when you are able to apply for housing, how long do you have to submit that request?
Sure. It usually is about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I don't know the specific dates. I think those are still being finalized. But you do have a little bit of time to be able to complete your application and submit it to us. So about 2.5 weeks.
Okay. Okay, so kind of a good amount of time there. Nice.
And if I could add, Jenny, it doesn't matter when you submit it. So, the application will go live at one point, and then you'll get a deadline, and it's usually 11:59 p.m. on that date. It doesn't matter if you are the first one to apply or the last one to apply. All of you who apply within that time frame are eligible for on-campus housing and for that guarantee.
Beautiful. I do know that that definitely eases folks and worries about being able to get that guarantee. So I'm very glad that you mentioned that. Okay, cool. Yeah, so another question in the chat. We have a student asking, I know single rooms are limited, but is there any way to guarantee a single room if we pick it, or is it more random?
That's a fantastic question. There unfortunately isn't a way to guarantee. It does become a little more randomized when we have a pool of people who are interested in a specific room type. The only time where it's a little bit more guaranteed, if I could use that word, is for students who have a accommodation through the Disability Resource Center, the DRC, for a specific room type. So if we do get that recommendation, that is a priority that we have, is to place folks in the space that meets their recommendation. And so for some of those folks, it might be a single, it might be a double, it might be a space or a location where there's kitchen access.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. Awesome. So moving along, are students allowed to bring furniture on campus? What if they want to bring a desk or a shelf, etc.? Is that possible?
It is in some locations. So I can tell you that, space in the Porter Res Halls, if you're living in the transfer community, or like the Village or the University Town Center, is a little more compact space. And so extra furniture is probably not going to fit in those spaces. And the furniture that is in the space needs to remain in the space. So we don't have storage, and we ask that folks not remove it from the room. Now, if you're in an apartment like Redwood Grove, there's a little bit more room for you to potentially bring something. But again, all the furniture that you would probably need is going to be in that space.
Perfect. Well answered. Okay, so moving along, another question we have is, do students who receive accommodations get priority housing for 2 years, or would it just be that 1 year guaranteed?
Sure. The guarantee is for that first year. So the second year, the process, there isn't the second year guarantee, but there is a process for all students to be able to apply for campus housing in the future. And that room selection information usually starts to come out around January, February at the latest.
Awesome. Great. So, still on the note of availability for housing, I know some students are wondering if there are any apartment style sort of housing options for students that are below the age of 23.
Sure. Fantastic question. There are a couple options with the International Living Center over at College 9 and John R. Lewis. That's apartment style. And then our ABC African Black Caribbean themed housing at Rachel Carson is apartment style. But otherwise, our continuing students are the folks that are primarily living in our apartment spaces. So this first year, they're limited. You can always explore those options come the winter quarter if there's space available, but we're very limited right up front.
Yeah, thank you for that. So on a kind of similar note, would you say that most students will live in doubles or triples? What would you say it's mostly common?
Sure. Most students will probably live in triples. It's our most common space on campus for both new transfers as well as our new first years and you know, places like the Village has the small double. We do have some doubles and some singles. They're just not as plentiful as our triple rooms.
Got it. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, perfect. Oh, still, there is a question about being able to apply to other colleges instead of just Porter to live in. Is that possible, or is Porter the only option where students can live in terms of that dorm-like feel?
Mhm. Porter is the main location for our transfer students that will live in the transfer community. In terms of applying to other colleges, you know, that's limited to our first year students and then our continuing students. So we have the multiple communities, the 4 communities that we're offering. And the reason why we have these transfer specific communities is that we wanted to build a connection for our transfer students. And so these smaller locations, these other locations do build that community together.
Beautiful. I love that.
Jenny, I'm going to plug my computer in so I don't lose everyone. So if you see me moving back, I don't want to lose y'all.
It's okay, Kathy. We don't want to lose you. So feel free, do what you got to do. Yeah, great. So I'm still going through the Q&A. There's still so many good questions. This one is more related to the parking situation. I'm actually going to make this a 2-piece question. So I know I get asked a lot from students that if they're transfer students, will they be able to get parking? Because I know we have limited amount of parking space. So is that a possibility for them?
Yes, transfer students are eligible to apply for parking passes. Our first year students and sophomores unfortunately aren't eligible for cars on campus, but our transfer students and continuing students are. Something to keep in mind is also that we have fantastic transportation. So there's a shuttle that goes through the campus, making periodic stops at different academic areas. and the different colleges. And also there's the ability to take the Santa Cruz Metro from campus into town. And that Metro bus can connect you over to San Jose, to the airports, to BART, to Amtrak, to all kinds of different public transportation. So I feel like we're pretty fortunate to have a pretty good system here within Santa Cruz.
Yes, I agree. And if I'm correct, students just have to show their student ID, right, to be able to access the shuttles, the transportation, all that good stuff.
It's actually pretty simple on campus for our own shuttles. You don't even have to pull your ID out. You just jump on. And then for the Santa Cruz Metro, you do show your ID because you've already covered those costs in your fees. Your transportation fees allow you to show your ID and to ride the campus Metro or the city Metro.
Nice. That's actually something I wasn't fully aware of. So it's really cool to know. Okay, so still on the parking topic, for students that do want to live in the University Town Center, and they want to take their car, how would that parking situation work? Because I do know that there is a bus stop there, right? But as far as parking their vehicles, how would that look like?
Fantastic question that I don't know a lot about. There is a parking lot behind the University Town Center, the UTC. There are students that do park there, but I think the parking is through the city of Santa Cruz versus the campus. But my colleagues at the UTC would be able to probably answer that question. So I would email UTC@UCSC.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, perfect. So, and my colleague Erin just dropped the email there too. So you have it if you're one of those students interested in UTC housing. Okay, cool. So I know this is also a concern for continuing students. And I did see a question in the chat asking, after the first year, right, it's guaranteed, that's great. But then after that, is there any way that students can be accommodated if they have families, partners, children, so that they can almost get like a guaranteed for housing that second year?
Sure. For folks who have families, partners, it's really awesome that here at UC Santa Cruz, how we define family is very diverse. There isn't a specific way that family is defined. So if you are, if you do have a family situation where you're looking at family student housing, I would start inquiring with them and looking at the information online right after you commit to UC Santa Cruz. Those leases are for more than 1 year. They might be a yearly lease, but in family student housing, you can renew your lease with them. So it's not a 1 year, 9-month housing kind of like it is with our single student housing.
Love that. I love it, love it, love it. Talk about accessibility. Love it. Okay, cool. All right, so still looking through the questions here. A couple more on the Redwood Grove apartments. So student is wondering, how competitive is it to get housing there? Are there singles? I'm not sure if that was mentioned in the presentation. But yeah, like how competitive is it?
It's really varied year by year. Some years we have a lot of interest, other years we've had a little less interest. So it's really hard to say. But we've been able to accommodate students that are 23. We've been able to accommodate students that were in their 50s. So it's broad in its residence. But it's really hard to say, definitively, like it's super competitive. Some years it has been, and some years it hasn't been as competitive. The one thing that we do encourage is that flexibility in your application. So if you're really interested in the Redwood Grove and you're 23, single is your first preference. Maybe you're willing to then also place a small double, which is the other room type at the Redwood Grove, as your second option. It gives you more opportunity, or you have other preferences that you have. But it really has varied year to year.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, looking through the questions here. I know, just as a reminder, I know you mentioned support, right, for students that are looking for off-campus housing after the first year, if they do want to live off campus, which is community rentals. So I know that's a resource, right, for students. Would you add anything else to that for students that might want to look off campus their second year?
Sure. I think community rentals is a fantastic resource. Some things that I would also personally suggest. I found my off-campus location when I was changing. My landlord was selling their place. I needed to find a new place. I looked at property management companies and realty offices and find that many of them also have rentals. And so I started looking there, and that's how I found mine. The other piece is, I think people use Reddit for different ways, and sometimes people will also search and post on Reddit looking for housemates.
Nice. And I know to add to that, we've talked to some of our student employees as well, and I know they've mentioned like their friends too. So they'll use their first year to mingle, maybe meet people in other clubs and classes, etc. And that has also helped in terms of finding out about housing options available outside of the UC Santa Cruz campus. So kind of wanted to put that out there too. Yeah. Cool. So I know we still have a pretty good amount of questions, but I do want to just take a couple minutes more to answer any that we might have here.
And Jenny, if it's possible, if I'm sure this is happening as we go along, students can also email us at our transfer community email. And so if there's something that we're not able to answer, or it's personal and you want to be able to explain more about your circumstances, please feel free to email us, and our staff will also respond back to you.
Thank you, Kathy, for mentioning that. Yeah, because some questions definitely are a lot more specific to the student situation, and I know our housing department does a great job at really getting back to folks. So that's great. I guess I'm trying to see what question we can end off with for these last 2 minutes. Let's see. Looking through here. I don't know if any of the admission or Erin, if you have any questions that you see in the chat, maybe to end us off.
Well, Kathy, I know that housing will follow up with students about what's allowed for on-campus housing or not, but we did have some questions like, can you have a lighter in the dorm, like lighting candles? Can you bring a coffee maker, a mini fridge? Someone's got praying mantises as pets. So we kind of had a variety of questions of like, can I bring this? So maybe what can you say to some of those items I mentioned, or just in general, what you can bring to on-campus housing?
Sure, that's fantastic. For some things, our residence halls are a little limited compared to like if you live in an apartment. So for example, apartments, you can bring things like an air fryer or a toaster oven. But some of those items, for the residence halls, they're options that we don't have, and that's just because of space and cooking fire code. So that's where I would say there's a web page for campus housing that says what to bring, what not to bring. And more of that information is also laid out in the housing contract. But, if you're looking at, can I bring a microwave? Can I bring a mini refrigerator? Absolutely. Strongly encourage you to talk to your roommates if you're going to have roommates, so that you don't end up with 3 fridges and 3 microwaves. But the question about the lighter, you know, that lighters aren't prohibited on campus. We are a smoke and tobacco free campus. But you know, having a lighter in itself isn't necessarily a concern. Candles, thank you for bringing that up. Because of fire safety, candles and incense and other things of that nature are not permitted in campus residences. I have stories I could tell you about fires, but you know, it's a fire safety, life safety concern.
Thanks so much, Kathy.
And on that note, Kathy, would you like to add anything else? Any last, I don't know, minute recommendations or tips, anything like that?
Yes, thank you. And two things jumped to my mind when I think of this is one, super excited that you joined us today. Thank you. I know that this is time out of your time and hopefully some of this information is helpful. And then secondly, at a transfer event this past weekend, a transfer student said, you know, what advice would you give me? And my two pieces of advice was go to office hours. Faculty want to make relationships and they're underutilized. And then secondly is get involved, come to an event, come to Cornucopia, which is where you meet hundreds of clubs and organizations and offices. But do find something that you connect with so that you can feel a stronger connection to the campus, and there'll be lots for you to do and to participate in.
I love that. Wonderful advice. Okay, great. So with that, Kathy, you are our housing champion. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to really just share this information with our hopefully future banana slugs. And yeah, we appreciate your time, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, great. So now that we have concluded our housing portion of our program, we're going to go ahead and move forward with our next steps presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me a moment here. Okay. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to do that right here. Okay, great. Can everybody see my screen fine?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Erin, my teammate. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, congratulations on your acceptance to UC Santa Cruz. We can only imagine, right, all of the hard work and dedication that it took for you to get to this point. So you should be really proud of yourselves. So, a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. Now that you're admitted, you may be asking yourself, you know, what's next? What should I be expecting? So, pictured here, we do have 5 different areas that we'll be going over. But please feel free to put your questions in the chat. And similar to how we did our housing portion, we'll do this next steps presentation portion as well. All right, so reviewing and accepting your offer of admission. So the first step, if you decide that we are the campus for you, it is important that you carefully review and accept your offer of admission. When you go through the process of accepting your offer, this is called the Statement of Intent to Register, or for short, SIR, which you'll hear us using interchangeably. There are multiple steps to doing this, but I want to highlight a few screenshots of what that would look like for you as you're going through the process. So you want to start by logging into your my.ucsc.edu portal, and you're going to click on the Now that I'm admitted, what's next? At the bottom of the page, you'll see that there are 2 buttons. So one button will be for you to decline our offer of admission, and the other one will be for you to accept it. Please, again, carefully read all of the information regarding the acceptance process so that you ensure that you're covering all of your bases. And as a side note, if at any point you want to see the full detailed instructions, you can do so by scanning the QR code on the bottom left. All right. So now that you will be able to review your admissions contract, I do want to point out that your admission decision is conditional. So what that means is that you are responsible for continuing to meet GPA, major preparation, and grade requirements. A key thing to know is that it is important for you to finish off strong at your community college or your university. So, with that being said, if there are any changes in your schedule, in your grades, then you are going to want to notify the Office of Admissions. And you do that through submitting a schedule change / grade issues form. So once we do that, we will basically give you next steps as to what you may need, or if there are any changes to the admission decision, etc. So if I can have Erin, please drop that link in the chat to the schedule change and grade issues form. And if not, no worries, folks. You can find this in our admissions website. Perfect. So as you continue to submit your statement of intent to register, you will be asked to rank your top 5 college affiliation preferences within UC Santa Cruz. So important things to note with this is that as transfer students, your college affiliation is not related to your major, and it is not necessarily mean that it will be where you will live on campus. It's just a college affiliation. If you want to get a refresher on what the colleges stand for, then you can click on the hyperlinks that are shown in the screen. So with that being said, there is a required deposit of $250 to submit your SIR. But if you are having any issues with coming up with the money up front, you can always let us know. I would like to add that it is for extenuating circumstances where it may be deferred for students that have issues coming up with the deposit. All right. So as we're going through our accepting of our admission offer, you'll see that there will be a page that does talk about your preference on whether or not you want to live on campus or off campus. So if you're a student that chooses university housing or living on campus, then you will be required to submit a $150 housing fee deposit. And this will basically be used towards your fall quarter. So we have that. If you're interested in off-campus housing, you can let us know here. But I know Kathy gave this great tip where she recommended if you do are considering living on campus, we just recommend that you do that university housing option because it's a lot easier for you to get out of that than to request university housing later on. All right. And for those students that may be interested in family housing, you do actually want to click the off-campus housing option because there's a separate application form that will be used in order to consider you for family housing. Okay. So after you're done indicating your housing preference, there is a section where you can also include parent contact information. This is optional. You don't have to do it, but if you want to have it for safety purposes, you're more than welcome to include your parents' or guardians' information. Okay, cool. So I think Kathy did an amazing job in her presentation, really thoroughly going through transfer student housing options. So for this, we're just going to do a brief overview. And essentially, these are the housing options available. We have the transfer community at Porter College, Redwood Grove, the University Town Center, and of course, family housing. All right. So still on the topic of accepting your offer of admissions. Once you have successfully completed the previous steps, you will be taken to a payment page. And essentially, what you'll see is the total of what you have to pay during the time. Know that you can submit your deposit electronically, by check, or money order. And if you are not planning to do university housing, then you don't have to pay that advanced housing fee. It would only be the statement of intent to register fee. And once that's done, you will see a success message. So by then, congratulations, you have hopefully, officially became a banana slug. So I usually like to tell students to take a screenshot of this page just so that they can have it for their references, and know that usually it takes about a day for students to have that information updated in their portals. Okay, cool. So, of course, it's super important for you to meet the conditions of admissions, all of that good stuff, but you also have deadlines to keep in mind. And here in the screen, you'll have deadlines from June all the way up until September. And what I usually like to tell students is to take a picture of this, take a screenshot, maybe even jot down these dates in a Google Calendar, etc. So I'm not going to go over all of them, but some that I do want to highlight are going to be the June 1st deadline, which is the transfer deadline to submit your SIR. And then we have the July 1st deadline, which is the deadline for official records. So if you're a student that completed courses in different community colleges, maybe different university schools, then you do want to make sure that we are receiving those official records. And you'll see other deadlines there regarding test scores. So if you took any AP, SAT, ACT scores, etc. And then at the end, you'll see that during like mid-September, late September, we have our fall move-in and welcome week, along with the start of our quarter. Great. So checking your my.ucsc.edu and your to-do list. Some key things to highlight here are that by now, hopefully you would have created you would have logged into your my.ucsc.edu portal using your Cruz ID and your gold password. And in your portal, you'll see your to-do list. So it's very important to check this periodically, because what we do as a university is as different offices, whether it be financial aid or the Office of Admissions, will basically contact you through there and let you know of the things that are required of you. So that could be anywhere from official transcripts to financial aid verification documents, etc. So make sure you're checking that pretty often. And here, I just provided a couple of screenshots. So basically, you'll see that your to-do list will be on your homepage of your portal. And once you do click on that icon, you should see a couple of items there, or maybe just one, etc., of the things that are needed of you. You'll also see that there's a status section. So you'll be able to witness in real life what the status of your documents, all that stuff is in. Okay, great. So slug orientation and summer edge. These are essentially happening at the same time. When you're thinking of slug orientation, you're thinking about something that is mandatory for all students that are going to enroll at UC Santa Cruz. And really it's mandatory because this is your first step towards your transition at UC Santa Cruz. In order to be able to receive an enrollment appointment, you do have to complete slug orientation. But the very cool thing about it is that slug orientation is done online asynchronously. So you do have a couple of months to get through an academic course essentially for your orientation. And this will be available to you starting June 26th through Canva. So I know a lot of folks, especially coming from the community college system, have already had access to Canva. So I think it's a really neat way to kind of keep things similar. So we have that. And at the same time as slug orientation is taking place, we have Summer Edge, which is basically our summer program. So if you're a student that wants to get ahead in your degree, you could definitely do so through Summer Edge, and it happens during the months of June, July, and August. I would like to point out that courses can be taken both online and in person. And if you do want to get a feel for the campus before you officially become a full-time student, I think that would be a great option. You can basically meet other students, get a feel for the classrooms, a feel for the professors, etc. Now, if you want more info, you can always scan the QR codes, and yeah, you'll be shown info there. Great. So move-in and welcome week, as shown earlier, it will happen later in September. And since your SLEG orientation is online, I think this is a great way for you to get those in-person interactions with other students, clubs and organizations, all that good stuff. Okay. And of course, we do have services for transfer and re-entry students. So we want you to be successful at Santa Cruz. We do provide, SARS does provide peer mentorship, internship opportunities. They also have events throughout the year, which basically makes students feel welcome at our campus. STARS also does support veterans, parents on campus, as well as students that have been part of the foster care system. Additionally, more academic success support that you have on campus will be educational opportunity programs, learning support services, and our career center. So if you're looking for group tutoring, individual tutoring, peer mentorship, maybe even support in like writing resumes or looking for jobs, these services are basically given to you throughout these resources that we have. And of course, just as we want you to be successful academically, we also want you to feel safe and healthy on our campus. So we do have student health services on campus with health professionals and even a pharmacy. We have counseling and psychological services, and those are just a couple of resources on campus made available to you so that you can access. So with all of that being said, we really hope to see you in the fall. In the meantime, we do still want to be connected with you. I have provided some of our social media handles here, and it's really cool because if you check out our Instagram or TikToks, you'll actually be able to see a day in the life of students, you know, some historical things that have gone on at the UC Santa Cruz campus, which I think is really cool. And in our YouTube, you'll actually see some dorm tours too. So again, just things to kind of check out if you're seriously considering us. So thank you so much for listening, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing, and we're gonna go ahead and move into the live Q&A session of our program.
Thanks so much, Jenny. I know we have a lot of questions coming in. Thanks for using that Q&A feature. I'll kick it off by Oh, I had my question right here and then where'd it go? Okay, so I am seeing some people are asking some pretty specific questions about their cases, and I just want to, point you to some of the answered questions because you will see our general admissions email there as well. But I'm also dropping in the chat a link for connecting with your admissions representative. So representatives like Jenny and myself and Cheryl and Laura and Maria, we all have different areas of California and beyond where we can offer our services. So I would recommend if for some of your specific cases, feel free to reach out to us by email. You should be able to select your community college or region of the world that you're from. And then we can, hopefully answer some questions from there. I did see some questions as well for the schedule change and grade issues form. That's been sent a couple of times through our answered questions. I did see a question that said, will admissions offers be rescinded if you're short on credits, or is there an option to attend for an extra quarter or year? I will say, you need to be meeting the conditions of admission. So make sure that you look at yours specifically. If you are currently taking classes, we are counting on those units and you passing those classes. So if something with your schedule has changed, or if you don't pass those classes, that's when I would say it would be time to fill out the schedule change and grade issues form. If you are worried about being short on credits and you're referring to the UC transfer requirements that require at least 60 semester units, UC Santa Cruz does consider and accept students that do not have that amount of units. So if we've already sent you an offer of admission and you were short units, I'm just laughing because I want to say like we've already accepted you. But if you're not sure, please feel free to check with your admissions rep just to be extra sure. So just wanted to distinguish that question a little bit, and whoever sent that, feel free to elaborate if I didn't quite hit on it.
Thank you, Erin. That was a great question and also a great response. So yeah, I agree. As long as you're really looking at those conditions of admissions, right? Making sure that everything is all good. And if there's something that falls short, yeah, feel free to submit that schedule change and grade issues form, and you will be contacted within a couple of weeks by our office that will let you know about next steps. Yeah, thank you. Cool. Okay. So I did see a question in the chat where a student asked, how do I defer the SIR deposit? And that one actually does require a couple of steps. So I would recommend contacting your admissions representative, and they can basically give you the links and the breakdown of how that would look like for you. But there is a link. I don't have access to it on hand right now. If someone does, feel free to drop it, but I do recommend speaking to your admissions rep.
Thanks, Jenny. Feel free to jump in on answering this one with me, but I did see some questions asking, when am I going to get an enrollment date for my fall classes? What's that going to look like? The orientation course that Jenny was speaking about earlier in the presentation, that is how you're going to get your enrollment appointment. It'll be very well structured. You'll have, an opportunity to learn how to actually enroll for classes, which ones to enroll in. If a lot of majors do reach out to their students ahead of time, and I imagine that would be built into orientation as well. And their orientation basically has agreements with all the departments, and they set aside a certain amount of seats in the class. So even though your enrollment time will be later in the summer, usually current students have already enrolled for class, there are still a lot of seats that are set aside for our new incoming students. So Jenny, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add about orientation and enrolling for fall classes, but I just wanted to give that overall answer because I know all of you as transfers, you've already been in college, so you're wondering like what's fall going to look like. I know I will still be taking classes, so it's a good question.
Yeah, no, good question, Erin, and great response. It's really cool because with orientation too, you'll be able to have a meeting with your advisor. So hopefully that also helps with like just picturing how fall courses are going to look like, right? Degree progress, etc. So yeah, thank you for that. Okay, cool. So we have that. I'm still looking through questions here. So I just need, let's see.
I do see one came in asking when the orientation class is. I will drop a link in here, but basically the access date is going to be June 26th for the first part. So it's broken up into 3 parts, and I just dropped that link now. So check that out.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Erin. So this actually goes back to the conditions of admissions that we were talking about earlier, but I did have a student ask if a grade that is below a C minus or less, right? Will that impact my admissions if I have already been accepted? And so if it is a transferable non-PE class, it could impact your admission decision. So I would say fill out that schedule change and grade issues form as soon as possible because we will let you know about next steps. But yeah, it definitely can.
I'm
Okay.
seeing some financial aid questions too, and I can drop it again, but our financial aid office does have drop-in Zoom advising. And if you have specific questions about your package, I would recommend, contacting them by email or trying that drop-in Zoom advising. They were our guests for Transfer Friday last Friday, and they were big on, saying like, please reach out to us with questions. So just want to note that because I'm seeing a couple questions about finances, which is important.
Perfect. Thank you, Erin. So I do see that we are approaching our time. I'm gonna see, I do want to link in the chat important dates and deadlines. I know we pretty much went over them in this presentation, but I love sharing this webpage link because it'll also give you links to the necessary like housing application or like slug orientation, etc. So I'll be dropping that in the chat. But while I do, is there anything that any of our admissions folks want to add? Any recommendations, any tips, any words of encouragement?
I've already been talking for a bit, so Laura, Maria, Cheryl, if you want to say anything, you can go after me. But yeah, congrats again. Again, please reach out to us as admissions reps if you have more questions and you want to check in further. So that's what I'll say. How about you, Laura?
I just want to say congratulations, and we do hope to see you in the fall, if not sooner. If you want to come for summer session, maybe we'll see you on campus earlier. I am the admissions representative for international and non-resident students. So if any of you are international transfer students, please feel welcome to contact me, and I would be happy to fill you in on anything else that you have questions about. Congratulations again.
Yeah, I can also extend my congratulations. Welcome to being a Banana Slug. My name is Maria. I'm one of the frontline advisors in the admissions office, so feel free to swing by and say hello to our advisors and our representatives in the office. We're open Monday through Friday, and we hope to see you in the fall.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, team. And yeah, I just want to close us off with this, that I know this was a lot of information, but at the end of the day, there are so many people here that want to see you succeed and want to support you in your journey. So feel free to contact us at admissions or housing, financial aid, etc. And we'll be there to support you. Take care, everyone. Thank you.